Philippines.
Now, when asked for comment, the Chinese embassy here in Manila says its foreign ministry is expected to release a response soon. The local government of Kalayaan municipality in Palawan also condemns the incident in Ayungin Shoal. Ayungin Shoal is part of the Kalayaan group of islands in the province. It lies 105 nautical miles from Palawan, well within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. It's also part of the country's continental shelf. But China is still claiming Ayungin as well as the rest of the West Philippine Sea. The Philippine Navy deliberately ran the BRP Sierra Madre aground in 1999 after China occupied the nearby Mischief Reef. The Sierra Madre is now the only thing keeping China from occupying Ayungin Shoal. Lawmakers also up in arms about China's recent aggression in the shoal. Senator Richard Gordon says he supports the Foreign Affairs Department's condemnation and protest against the illegal acts of the Chinese Coast Guard. Senator Risa Hontiveros shares the same view, saying what happened is an unacceptable violation of the country's sovereign rights and jurisdiction. She calls on Malacanang to strongly condemn the incident. Vice presidential aspirant Senator Kiko Pangilinan, meanwhile, opposes moves to occupy Philippine territories, as well as efforts to sell power and telecommunications assets to what he says are businessmen from the mainland. Other senators running for the country's top posts next year had this to say.
Satisfied, ano? Kaya ang aming maging polisiya dito, makipag-alliance tayo doon sa malalakas na bansa, yung mga militarily strong countries, like meron man tayo existing mga bilateral agreements with them. Umasa tayo doon sa tinatawag na balance of power, na makipag-alyansa tayo, hindi yung parang push over na lang tayo.
Tinataboy, may nasaktan o wala, baka panahon na talaga na medyo, di naman parang veiled threat. No? Pero dapat siguro i-highlight natin uli ang mga provisions ng Mutual Defense Treaty. Sapagkat yun ang panlaban dyan eh. Ang alam ko, meron doon na sinasabi na pagka tayo nagkaroon ng kahit na a form of aggression, papasok yung the Mutual Defense Treaty will kick in.
Another presidential aspirant, Vice President Leni Robredo, says the latest harassment by Chinese Coast Guard vessels emphasizes the need to show a stronger stance in asserting Philippine sovereignty. Another hopeful, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, says that if elected president, he will be fearless in fighting for the country's territorial waters and at the same time will be fair with discussions and the management of the situation on both sides. The United States reaffirming its support to the country's arbitral award that invalidates China's claims in disputed waters. That is according to a statement from the U.S. State Department at the 9th Bilateral Strategic Dialogue earlier this week. Washington also standing by the application of the Mutual Defense Treaty with the Philippines in case of an armed attack on the country's forces or vessels in the South China Sea. The bilateral talks concluded with the signing of a joint vision statement to strengthen cooperation and relations. The presidential bid of the late dictator's son and namesake is shaping up to be the most legally challenged in recent election history. Bongbong Marcos is now facing 4 petitions to stop him from joining the race to Malacanang. As Melissa Lopez reports, Marcos also hired a veteran lawyer who was his father's Solicitor General.
Former Senator Bongbong Marcos's attempt to bring his family back to Malacanang is facing legal hurdles, with 4 petitions now blocking his presidential dreams. But his lawyers missed the November 16 deadline to formally respond to the first of the pleas to cancel his certificate of candidacy. They asked for an additional week to prepare their answer. On Thursday morning, Marcos' lawyer Vic Rodriguez claimed that COMELEC has already granted the extension hours before the poll body's 2nd Division made its decision.
It was approved yesterday. We were given an extension of time to file our answer to the petition. The first petition, I think, the cancellation of the COC. I think we were granted 7 days from notice.
Sabi sila na sabi, wala naman silang karapatan magsabi niya. Till the promulgation comes out, you have nothing. You have speculation. That's all you have. Pinaka-importante is we wait for what the COMELEC promulgates.
This is not the first time COMELEC spokesman James Jimenez called out the Marcos camp for making inaccurate claims. The Marcos team also hired veteran lawyer Estelito Mendoza, now 91, to defend Bongbong Marcos against such petitions. He was a longtime Solicitor General of the late President Ferdinand Marcos during martial law. A preliminary conference on the case filed by lawyer Theodore Te is set on November 26th, while other petitions await action. There's another plea to cancel Bongbong's COC filed by independent presidential hopeful Tiburcio Marcos. A disqualification case filed by 18 survivors of human rights abuses during martial law, and fellow presidential bet Danilo Lihay-Lihay, who wants to declare Bongbong a nuisance candidate. They all stemmed from Marcos's conviction for not filing his income tax returns for 4 years, which petitioners say banned him from holding any government post for life. COMELEC has yet to resolve all 4 petitions. Although the complaints vary, they all seek to stop Bongbong's presidential ambition. As for the Marcos camp, they dismissed the petitions as nothing but black propaganda. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
The COMELEC 2nd Division gave Marcos until Monday, November 22nd, to respond to the first petition to cancel his candidacy. But Attorney Te, the petitioner in the case, said he will contest the poll party's decision. New petitions against Bongbong Marcos come on the 5th anniversary of the burial of his father, Ferdinand Marcos, at the Libingan ng mga bayani in Taguig. Martial law victims and human rights groups staged a protest there today after holding a caravan from the University of the Philippines in Diliman. They protested the presidential run of the late dictator's son and namesake, as well as his tandem with vice presidential aspirant Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. They also rejected the notion that the older Marcos or the elder Marcos was a hero. Lawmaker and senatorial aspirant Nery Colmenares, who was one of the protesters, says anyone who denies that Marcos Sr. was, quote, a corrupt and fascist dictator does not deserve to be president of the country. Marcos Sr. was buried at the Libingan ng mga bayani in 2016, a longtime wish that President Rodrigo Duterte granted. The burial had sparked outrage and nationwide protests, with martial law victims and groups vowing to never forget Marcos's iron rule. And what's so special about a president's first 100 days in office? This usually takes on a symbolic significance to mark how the country's new leader is doing, the speed by which he or she delivers on campaign promises, and how he or she is addressing the most pressing issues one by one. 5 presidential aspirants presented that plan to business leaders today, but as Anjo Alimario tells us, 2 candidates were no-shows.
5 presidential hopefuls make a pitch to business leaders that their economic agenda will bring recovery once they get elected into office. In recorded messages, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, Senators Bongo, Panfilo Lacson, and Manny Pacquiao, and Vice President Nelly Robredo took on the challenge in the Philippine Business Conference Expo's Presidential's Forum. Moreno says he will devote the first 2 years of his administration to reinforcing the health system to best cope with the pandemic. He'll push for lower taxes on fuel and electricity, address the housing backlogs, and give equal opportunity and level playing field in the business sector.
I will be fearless confronting problems. We will be fair in addressing it.
For Go, why fix if it ain't broken? He vows to continue the Duterte administration's programs and will concentrate on doubling malasakit centers, or the chain of one-stop-shop medical and financial centers nationwide, identify 10 million poorest Filipinos and give them cash aid and jobs. He also wants to establish a regulatory body for the franchise industry.
Hindi ko hahayaan na masayang lang ang lahat ng pagod at efforts ng Duterte administration. Hindi natin sisirain ang legacy ni Pangulong Duterte.
Lacson is banking on his track record as a senator. He says his administration will spend more for the right priorities to reboot the economy. There will be a geotagging system to provide data for all public infrastructure projects. He also promises to clean the agriculture department from top to bottom ranks.
If I win, I want to be remembered as someone who won the election in spite of being the most boring candidate who insisted on campaigning on hard data of issues.
The People's Champ says he will send corrupt officials to jail. He says he'll also push for lowering of corporate income tax to 15%, address power supply and internet connectivity. On agriculture, he believes the country should be exporting and not importing foods such as rice.
Gusto ko po maalala ko ng taong bayan na ang Manny Pacquiao nagmamahal ng tunay sa ating mga kababayan. Nagmamahal ng tunay sa ating bansa.
Robredo touts her kalayaan sa COVID-19 plan. For those who lost their jobs during the pandemic, she'll create a national unemployment insurance program that will provide financial assistance. On infrastructure, Robredo says the immediate goal is to create a nationwide active transport infrastructure in most traffic congested areas. She vows to double the budget for education and agriculture.
A vice president who transformed her office mandate and did not allow the limitations to keep her from doing the work that matters. Someone who rose above any challenge, any difficulty, and always answer the call to serve, no matter the cost.
Survey frontrunner former Senator Bongbong Marcos was a no-show. Carlo de Guzman, however, was not invited in the forum. Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
When we return, the Senate suspends sessions until Monday after Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who was there Wednesday night, tested positive for COVID-19. How will this affect deliberations on the proposed 2022 budget? And we take a look at the preparations in various universities ahead of the reopening of face-to-face classes. Stay tuned.
Manong Joe po.
At Ate Maita.
Ngayong November, tumaas ang overall electricity rates ng 33 centavos per kilowatt hour. Bunga ito ng maintenance shutdown ng Malampaya Gas Facility na naging sanhi ng dagdag singil sa WESM. At paggamit ng mas mahal na alternative fuel ng mga gas plants. Kaya andito po kami para tulungan kayo mag-manage ng konsumo ngayong bare months.
Lumalamig na ang panahon at madalas ang ulan. Pero di kailangan magtiis na maligo ng malamig na tubig. Heto ang bright idea namin mula kay Engineer Joel.
Kaya ng budget maligo ng mainit, mapa-deep type water heater, electric kettle, o shower heater. Pero payo namin, mag-shower heater. Pinakamura, pinakamadali, at pinaka-safe dahil iwas paso or electric shocks.
Hanggang sa susunod na Meralco Advisory.
Love is all about time. Di minamadali ang pagpapasarap. Like the love in every Pure Foods ready to eat. Slow cooked and ready in 8 minutes. Para may time ka sa mga mahal mo. Because love takes time.
Kabilang ba kayo sa mga Pilipino na nahihirapan sa mga transaksyon dahil wala o kulang ang mga valid IDs?
Huwag nang mag-alala dahil narito na po ang PhilSys, ang identification system ng bawat Pilipino.
Para sa Step 1 registration, pumunta lang sa register.philsys.gov.ph para makapag-register sa PhilSys online. Ito ang PhilSys, ID natin to.
Discovery Plus is here. Welcome to your new home of larger-than-life entertainment and unforgettable characters. Subscribe now at 129 pesos per month.
Bawat patak, may sarap, may lakas, sulit. Red Horse Beer.
Residents enjoy easier access to the kind of water we all deserve. This is thanks to SMC Infrastructure's Bulacan Bulk Water Supply System project, a treatment facility that provides affordable and potable bulk water to the 24 municipalities of Bulacan. It produces an average volume of 160 million liters per day for around 165,000 households. It also has a maximum capacity of 388 million liters per day. This meets the increasing water demand of Bulaqueños. The project also cuts down the use of deep wells, helping mitigate the environmental impact of excessive groundwater extraction. The The Bulacan Bulk Water Supply System project provides Bulacanos the affordable and reliable potable water supply they need.
Welcome back to Newsnight. While experts note the continuous drop in COVID-19 cases, the country records over 300 deaths for the second straight day. The health department says 305 people died from the virus. However, only 36 of these occurred this month. 44%, or about 134 fatalities, were recorded in October, while 35%, or 107, in September. The DOH says the late reporting was because of delays in encoding. Total deaths are now over 46,400. The DOH also reports nearly 1,300 fresh cases, pushing the nationwide tally to over 2.8 million. But the agency says the positivity rate slightly fell to 3.4%. This is the sixth straight day the figure has been below 5%. The World Health Organization says countries or regions may reopen if they are able to keep their positivity rate below 5% for at least 14 days. Meantime, over 1,900 people got well from the virus. This means 97.5%, or more than 2.7 million have recovered. 4 laboratories failed to submit data. Deliberations on the proposed 2022 national budget face a setback as the Senate suspends sessions until Monday. That's after Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, who was present during a hearing on Tuesday, not Wednesday, as we said earlier, again tested positive for COVID-19. Lorenzana's swab test result came out yesterday. The official, who is fully vaccinated, says he has no symptoms and will undergo another test in the coming days after observing his condition. Lorenzana arrived on Sunday from a trip to Poland. He did not undergo quarantine as Poland belongs to green list countries. Disinfection is underway in the Senate building. There will also be tighter rules for visitors. Senators underwent antigen tests yesterday after Lorenzana's results came out. Senator Mig Zubiri says those who actively participated on the floor had negative antigen results, but they will still undergo quarantine and RT-PCR testing on Sunday. Senator Joel Villanueva, who says he tested negative in the antigen test, was seen shaking hands with Lorenzana in a photograph the senator himself provided. Experts have discouraged shaking hands to minimize contact with others and prevent the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, Senate President Tito Sotto says they will work fast to finish the budget debates on time. Based on the budget calendar, the bicameral conference must begin on the first week of December to transmit the budget to the Office of the President by December 17th.
So what happened? We will have to try Monday, finish everything until the wee hours of the morning. But if we do have to extend until Tuesday, what we would need would be a double time work by the LBRMO. We were supposed to propose amendments next week. So bibilisan na lang din yan. Medyo mag-overtime na rin.
Soto says they may extend until December 21st if they do not meet the deadline. Also, in December, some universities may start welcoming students again after the government allowed limited in-person classes in areas under alert levels 1, 2, and 3. And how are preparations coming along? Our AC Nichols visited one university in Manila where inoculations have begun for students and almost all of its staff have been vaccinated.
Architecture student Celeron Lim is back in the campus for the first time in a while. He is here to get vaccinated against COVID-19.
Kung mag-aantay ako ng iba, so matatagalan. So ito, sakto, yung sarili ko pang school yung nag-provide. Excited na ako mag-face-to-face para makapaglabas-labas na rin pag vaccinated na.
In preparation for the safe resumption of face-to-face classes, the University of the East partnered with the Philippine Red Cross to get more of its students and faculty vaccinated. The university says 98% of its faculty are fully vaccinated. Now, they want to ensure all students get inoculated as well, as majority want to go back to the classroom setup.
andun yung nakikita natin college life, yung campus life, and of course yung education na mabibigay sa atin na face-to-face setup.
There are physical preparations as well. Classrooms and other common areas have been retrofitted for the new normal. Signs and posters reminding people to follow health protocols are put up all over the campus. Dentistry students are set to return in these laboratories by next week. Some dental chairs are covered in plastic to ensure physical distancing. The Pandemic Task Force recently approved the Commission on Higher Education's proposal to resume physical classes for all courses in areas under low alert levels. A 50% indoor venue capacity must be followed.
Pag-decided na rin sa IATF na pagka-alert level, titingnan namin na alert level 2 or level 1, we will be more flexible na the decision will be with the regional chair at saka DepEd and also with the LGUs. So yun ang tinitingnan namin na most probably yung future opening natin will be more massive.
AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
Is the definition of fully vaccinated changing? For wealthier nations, people may now need up to 3 doses instead of just 2 to be considered fully inoculated. Many European countries are toughening rules on the unvaccinated and mandating booster shots amid case surges fueled by the Delta variant. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says a 3rd dose is vital to prevent restrictions from being re-implemented. France will require boosters for the elderly beginning December 15th. In Ireland, a midnight curfew is in effect in bars, restaurants, and nightclubs to reduce infections. Now, that's despite the country having one of the highest vaccination rates globally at 94%. The Irish government plans to offer 3rd shots to those with underlying health conditions and those aged 50 and above.
About 5% are not fully vaccinated, but about 50% of people in hospital and ICU are not fully vaccinated. So even that 5% can create a lot of difficulty. And then also, it's very evident now that immunity from the vaccines is waning. And we can see that happening across Europe. And that's why we're going to need to give people a 3rd dose. And that's what we're pushing ahead with now at present.
Germany, meanwhile, may be next to impose new measures. The nation reported more than 65,000 infections in the last 24 hours, its highest daily case count since the pandemic began. Germany has one of the lowest immunization rates in Western Europe at just over 67%. Global experts, however, fear the reliance on additional doses. The World Health Organization chief says it is, quote, a scandal that 6 times more booster shots are being administered daily globally than primary doses in low-income nations. Up ahead, music sensations BTS and Coldplay are set to share the stage at this year's American Music Awards. And a sneak peek at Adele's newest heartbreak anthem in her latest album. Details next.
Make a splash at mealtime with Pure Foods Seafood Delights. 100% real seafood goodness. Ready to serve in minutes. Pure Foods Seafood Delights. Eat so easy.
Friends, try nito. Vet-approved Nutri-Chunks in lamb flavor. With active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real lamb goodness. With essential nutrients to help keep them strong, healthy, and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
When you need to be tough outside, you gotta be clean inside. Petron Diesel Max keeps your engine clean and protects it against corrosion, so nothing gets in the way of your engine's power. That's why it's the most widely used diesel among four-wheel users in urban Philippines. Petron Diesel Max. Tough outside, clean inside.
We'll be making a strawberry martini, a great way to level up a special occasion. Here's what you'll be needing for this cocktail. For the tools, you'll need... We start by adding ice into our mixing glass, and in goes your GSM Premium Gin. And then we add our dry vermouth Finally, the strawberry syrup for some sweetness. Now take your bar spoon. Once all blended nicely, grab your strainer and pour your cocktail into your martini glass. Garnish this with some fresh strawberries. There you have it, your strawberry martini made with GSM Premium Gin.
Welcome back. Pop star pair Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello have called it quits after 2 years of dating. Both singers posted on their Instagram stories saying that they will remain best friends even after the breakup. The two began the relationship in 2019 following the success of their hit collaboration, Señorita. Speaking of collaborations, it looks like BTS and Coldplay fans will finally get to see the two worldwide sensations perform together. The English band already played My Universe in a talk show last month, but back then BTS could only join them as holograms. This time, both groups are set to take on the American Music Awards stage with their chart-topping single in person. And there's more in store for the BTS Army. The K-pop group is also teaming up with rapper Megan Thee Stallion for a performance of Butter. The show airs next Monday, 9 a.m. Philippine time. And before we go, powerhouse vocalist Adele gave fans a taste of her next album a day before release. The British singer posted herself singing To Be Loved right from the comfort of her couch. It is one of 12 songs on her fourth studio album, 30, that's set to come out tomorrow. Here's a sneak peek at Adele singing her heart-wrenching new track. Easy on Me, the first single off 30, dominated the Billboard Global 200 chart. It took the #1 spot for 4 weeks straight. It is 37 days before Christmas, and that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Hontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
So the daughter withdraws her candidacy for re-election as mayor, close on the heels of a drug raid that, it turns out, didn't target her information officer. Flies to a luxury island resort for a birthday party of the Speaker of the House, officially leaves her local party, hops on over to Cavite to be ninang sa kasal, even walking in on the arm of a man who's clear about his intentions to run for president.
I am running for president, full stop.
That Cavite pit stop was also where the daughter promptly swore allegiance to the political party of the father of the bride, which completely caught her father's political party, or at least one faction of it, off guard. leading them to having their presidential candidate, who said at the start he didn't look like a mockery, withdraw his bid the very next day.
This party decision na. I was ordered by the party to withdraw. So, I have to withdraw.
All right. And then their VP candidate withdrawing his own COC, only to file a COC for president with another political party, accompanied by the master he served for so long, whose political lieutenant announced the president, the incumbent one for the next 6 months still, would file his own COC for VP on D-Day.
Babalik presidente sa Monday para mag-file.
Are you running for senator? Lalagay ko na yung aming camera.
Vice President.
Which then begged the question,
Nakalagay niyo ba ang anak ninyo, sir?
which got this strange reply in the form of another question.
I don't know, nag-file ba?
And this didn't help either.
I have thousands of supporters who cried last October 8th, and I cannot find it in my heart to make them cry again on November 15th. After the deadline, the offer to run for vice president became an opportunity to meet you halfway,
leading the entire country to come to a screeching halt, just like those wild roller coaster rides where you're suspended at the highest point right before you plunge to the bottom of your upside-down stomach. Because after all, Sunday was and is rest day, the day before Monday, D-Day, the day we were told everything would be clearer.
A lawyer, Melchor Aranas, representing President Rodrigo Duterte, has also arrived, this time to submit the COC, President Rodrigo Duterte, as her substitute candidate.
Wala naman pong problema sa samahan siguro na mag-ama, no? Ang sinabi lang ni Presidente, hindi nagkonsulta si Mayor Sara sa kanyang mga political plans. Sabihin na lang natin na gaya ng kahit anong relasyong pamilya, minsan may tagpuhan, pero wala pong kaduda-duda, nagmamahalan po mag-ama.
We've said this before and we'll say it again. Politics is a favorite Pinoy pastime. Next to basketball, boxing.
The new Miss Universe is...
and beauty pageants. But in beauty pageants, if the title holder can't do the job, the first runner-up gets it. In professional boxing, you're given 8 seconds to get back on your feet or you're out. And in basketball, the rules on substitution and overtime can't be bent or broken. Can you think of any other election that tops 2022? Good evening, I'm Pia Hontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, Politics as Usual. Our guests for tonight, 2 political science professors from UP Diliman, Dr. Maria Ella Atienza, and from De La Salle University, Dr. Julio Tihanqui. Good evening to you both, professors. So, how was your weekend? And when I say weekend, I'm referring to Saturday's happenings at the Comelec, Balesin, Cavite, etc. No. Nabusan na ba kayo ng words or adjectives to describe what you witnessed? Professor Tihanqui, kayo na po muna.
Well, yeah, I mean, the entire drama last week until the weekend, until early this week was all sound and fury, signifying nothing, no? The much anticipated showdown for the presidency between Bongbong Marcos and Mayor Sara Duterte was a non-starter. And the promise Duterte versus Duterte showdown for the vice presidency, the big drama na inaabangan ng lahat ng tao ay na-cancel, no? So again, we have all been taken for a ride, no? So it goes to show, no, how the Dutertes have really mastered the politics of mayhem and misdirection. No?
Mayhem and misdirection, pero pinag-usapan sila ng mabuti, ano? Professor Atienza, kayo po.
Yeah, hello, good evening, Pia. Actually, yung last few days, since last week up to yesterday, particularly last Saturday, parang nanonood ng sitcom. I was expecting a teledrama, but it's more like a sitcom, parang yung abangan ang susunod na kabanata. I was not surprised that Bongbong's still stuck with what he said, that he's running for president, and then of course, Sara decided to, the indications are pointing that she will file for vice president when Bongbong said that he will not give way. But what was surprising was after Bato withdrew last Saturday, Bongo filed but not as presidential candidate of PDP Laban, but PDDS. So ngayon lang na, sabi ko, ngayon ko lang yata narinig yung PDDS.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's always a first time.
Talaga yung PDP Laban. Di ba? Parang kawawa yung PDP Laban. It's the administration party, pero mukha siya talagang pinag-iwanan, i-abandon talaga. And then, of course, we were waiting kasi ang pinakapasabog last Saturday, tatakbong Vice President, si President Duterte. So parang Duterte, and then suddenly, Monday, Senator. Pero parang ang naging surprise, anticlimactic yung umaga kahapon, it was Parlade was the surprise filing for president. So parang ganon ang ending.
So magandang telenovela pa rin, magandang sitcom pa rin. Kasi the most unexpected yun ang nangyari. And the teaser didn't really give us the correct clues, no? And well, anyway, you were saying already, no? So Sarah running for VP, Bongo running for president, Digong running for senator. And then you have this, strange situation where Bongo Marcos's party says it is adopting Sarah as their VP candidate. And until now, walang sagot si Sarah. O ang lakas, because she filed with lakas, which is another thing that we need to try and digest. No, what's all this? No, what does it mean, Professor Tihanki?
Well, Pia, mukhang nagkakasala sa labat na mga kwento nila, no? The objective of the game is actually to coordinate, no? If they want to consolidate their forces, no? But apparently, what's happening here is failure in coordination, no? Sabi nga ng iba, magtayo naman kayo ng Viber group, no? Para mag-usap-usap kayo sa mga plano.
Or pwede ring Telegram. Mas secure ang Telegram daw.
Ang nangyayari dito kasi, no? Mukhang hindi na magkasundo-sundo yung mga original plans nila. The original plan, I think, was really to consolidate the forces of all administration candidates to come out with a tandem that is quite formidable. No?
Yeah.
But apparently, in doing
the president
so,
himself. The president himself was saying that, well, he expected Sarah to run for president, and then we're presuming that what he meant was Sarah president and then si BBM mag-VP. Kaya lang nag-hold fast si Bongbong na parang, no way, I'm running for president, di ba?
Well, actually, from the very beginning, there seems to be a division within the House of Duterte between the daughter, the favorite daughter, and the political son. No, so the father, was torn between pursuing or supporting the dreams of the daughter or the dreams of the political son. So it is a story of the personal, our political becoming personal, and the personal becoming political.
But we saw this, this was para bang a local politics scenario, right? I mean, Davao City in microcosm. No? But then,
we usually see this in the local level. No? There have been several instances of members of the same political dynasties competing with one another. So, but this takes the cake. No? This is the first time that such national level dynastic maneuverings have been seen by the public.
Ano kayang problema nila with Bongo? Why don't Sarah and he see eye to eye? What's going on? Is this Sarah, being the rebel and challenging her father? What's going on? What do you think, Professor Atienza?
Well, of course, I think from the very beginning, of course, Sarah it will always be the daughter, but at the same time, she also wanted to present herself as not just the daughter of the president. She always emphasizes that she's more than just the daughter of the president. And at the same time also, I don't think she's very comfortable with the politicians surrounding her father. And in a sense, there were also certain groups within the official family of the president who were not very much willing to support her as their candidate. So hati actually yung support those people who were supporting the president or who are still supporting the president. Not all of them are really very supportive of having the daughter as the successor of the president in terms of the candidate for president.
Yung mga sumusuporta kay presidente, parang hindi yung duling eh. Ano yung opposite ng duling, yung napagalan yung mata? Banlag, parang naging banlag kasi hindi na nilang saan tayo titingin, parang gano'n. Kanino ba tayo, parang gano'n. Okay, susunod ba tayo kay presidente o kay Sara? Tapos, well, there are a lot of presumptions here.
And may factions, di ba? May factions talaga siya. Malawak yung sumuporta kay President Duterte, but at the same time, iba-iba rin yung mga manok nila. And some are pro-Bongo and some are also supporting other candidates, some are supporting Sara. And parang lagi sinasabi ni Sara, ayaw niya makialam sa PDP laban. She really refuses to be a member of PDP.
Yeah, that was another big surprise. Biglang lagla ka CMD. Parang, ano nangyari? Tuloy naisip, hindi, magandang pangalan, title ng show. Ang saya-saya ng Philippine politika. Anyway, we're gonna have to take a very quick break lang. Politics as usual. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Politics as usual. Ang saya-saya. Our guests, two political professors, Professor Ella Atienza and Professor Julio Tihanqui. We're also, the way people are talking now and, given everything that's happened the last few days, what we're presuming here is that, we had the latest surveys, no? We're presuming that BBM will win. We're also presuming, because after all, like we said, survey frontrunner, we're presuming Sara is a winner, a runaway winner, perhaps. But mataas pa rin si survey si Tito Sen, si Senator Tito Soto, who is Senate President. We're also presuming na Digong, Rodrigo Duterte, will win as Senator. And because, a lot of people have so many conspiracy theories that, he's going to be Senate President, and then Sara will win as VP, and BBM will win as president. And if, but then, di ba, kung mag-Senate president kay, as who said, I think it was Tito Sen himself who said, if you want to be Senate president, you have to win 13 votes, no? Of the center. So, ang daming mga presumptions dito. What do we make of this, Professor Tihanqui?
Well, of course, we have to understand that the high percentage of numbers that Bongbong Marcos got in the recent round of surveys, was a result of Mayor Sara not pursuing the presidency. So we have to understand that the vote base of both the Marcoses and the Dutertes are the same. And that when Sara Duterte initially did not participate or did not file for the presidency, then it was quite logical that her votes would go to Bongbong Marcos. So that explains the high numbers of Bongbong. And of course, as a result, if Marcos would run, there should be a counter move by the EDSA forces. So that really convinced Vice President Leni Robredo to finally decide to run, but not because of Bongbong, but because she has become the avatar of the EDSA narrative. So lahat to reaction sa isa't isa, sa mga galaw nila, at parang chess yan, nag-abang sila kung ano mga kilos ng kalaban nila at saka sila gumalaw. Kaso lang sa sobrang dami na naglalaro, medyo nagugulo na yung laro, at medyo nalilito na rin ang taong bayan kung saan patungo ito.
Iisa lang ba talaga ang support base ng mga Marcos at ng mga Duterte? Because I can sense that there's a fraction, we don't know how big, of the Marcos base that is not for Duterte, but they're solidly
Of course, no?
for BBM, di
Of
ba?
course. Oo, and we're seeing that right now. No, nagkakaroon na ng. So again, no, what I was saying earlier, no, it was an effort to forge what I usually call an anti-EDSA coalition, no, a coalition of all the political forces that were marginalized by the EDSA political elites. No, so but then again, they all have their own political interests. No, they all have their political agenda. No, and it's now. We're now seeing that, no. So instead of uniting, no, like for example, no, from the very start, we all know that the interests and the motivations of the daughter is different from that of the father, and there are different political forces supporting the candidacy of the daughter. No? And in fact, the daughter chose to heed the advice of the former queen, no, who is now becoming the new kingmaker, no? The one who the alliance.
Yes, we'll get to
that explains why it's lakas CMD, di ba?
Right,
So,
of course. Yes.
Doon medyo nasaktan din siguro yung tatay, no? Mas nakinig ka pa sa ibang tao kasi nakinig ka sa sarili mong ama. So, and that kind of hurt is now being reflected on social media among the pro-Duterte forces. No, nagkakaroon na nga ng dalawang variants ng DDS sa social media, no, yung DDSS at yung DDSR, no, yung banat bite versus thinking Pinoy, di ba?
Okay, you know, we're going to get to the EDSA narrative in just a bit, but I wanted to very quickly go through this the BBM and Digong dynamics, no, because may sinabi President Duterte na hindi niya sinusuportahan si BBM. He will explain why eventually. But that's strange because, number one, he allowed the burial at the libingan ng mga bayani. And of course, we all know, 1993, inuwi yung labi ni former President Ferdinand Marcos. And like you were saying kanina, Professor Tiangkin, I wanted to ask Professor Atienza also about this. Very important, no? That the possible BBM victory is a referendum on EDSA and a judgment on EDSA 86, no? And what's interesting here is parang, di ba sabi nila, kasalanan ng taong bayan because we have short memory. So kasalanan natin parang ganon. Pero talagang kasalanan ba talaga natin or kasalanan ng lahat ng gobyerno na naluklok matapos si Marcos? Because they were in power. Cory was president for 7 years. FDR, who was an EDSA hero, was president for 6 years and so on and so forth. Professor Atienza.
Yeah, I think when we look back and say that kasalanan ng taong bayan, kasalanan natin kasi hindi natin naprotektahan yung memories ng EDSA, it's basically the failure of a lot of forces. Particularly, we failed in strengthening the democratic institutions that we restored or put up with the 1987 Constitution. We failed to strengthen our political parties. And look what is happening now. Halos wala na talagang relevance yung political parties. And then, of course, hinayaan natin and we see, of course, now the political families, the political dynasties still trying to negotiate among themselves, negotiating but at the same time trying to outdo each other. Parang sino yung mas malakas, Marcoses ba, Duterte, or now nasa likod the GMA representing the Arroyos. Parang in a way we failed to really put up institutions and strengthen the processes that would prevent the return of the Marcoses. Kasi we did not, di ba? In other countries kasi completely talaga natanggal na yung
yes.
Or
so you're referring to this whole debate about political dynasties, and even if it is in the Constitution that they should be banned, that Congress, every post-Marcos Congress has failed to come up with a anti-political dynasty bill. However, if you look at each Congress, and I remember I would literally count the congressmen. Easily, 2/3 to 3/4 are members of political families. Pero ang tanong doon kasi is, after, nung nalulok si Cory sa pagka-presidente, the Congress that came into power at the time, the 8th Congress, 1987 to 92, panay political families din, di ba? But anyway, we're gonna get you to answer that after this very short break. More from our guests when we return. This is Politics as Usual. We are on our final stretch. This is Politics as Usual. Professor T. Hanky, can you respond to my question a while ago?
Well, it goes to show that it's political clans and dynasties, not political parties, that's been the building block of our electoral politics, and that has always been the case, no? And that's one of the failings of the EDSA elites, no? Previous administration's failure, and it's a collective failure actually to consolidate our democratic institutions and practices, no? And one of the biggest problem really is the continuing dominance of only a few political dynasties. And based on the study of the Ateneo School of Government, 70% of our present House of Representatives is composed of dynasties, and 80 in the local government units. And by 6 years' time, practically 90%, 80 to 90% of all elected positions are coming from the dynasty. So with this kind of a setup, it's not a surprise that the Marcoses were easily reintegrated into our political system.
So if you have these political dynasties, families that rule the roost in local politics, and well, as we all know, all politics is local anyway, and if you go local, then you look at the families, the clans, diba? And that's also one reason.
It has become a Game of Thrones of sorts.
Oh, Game of Thrones, right. Right.
Yeah, it's just the elite families negotiating among themselves. If you saw that wedding in Cavite, no, it reminds you so much of the first scene in The Godfather, in which all the families were gathered.
I think we've been watching a little bit too much TV na, no? Or Netflix. Yeah. Okay. So, and then of course that also affects the way the so-called opposition, the vaunted opposition bloc should have acted, because the question here is, did they let this golden opportunity pass them by? Because ang tagal na pinag-usapan, Lenny Ping, Manny Isko, sana magkaisa sila kasi hati na ang boto. So anong dapat mangyari dito? Professor
Ella.
I think the golden opportunity has been lost. And that has been the trait of the progressive sectors and the opposition for the past few decades. Sila mismo rin hindi magkasundo, di ba? Maraming pagkakataon nag-unite sila, pero after that, wala nang sustainability. And then now, there were efforts to really talk, and then na-miss nila yung opportunity until November 15 na magkaroon ng further consolidation. So we now have all this number of candidates presenting themselves as opposition, pero definitely mahahati ang boto, and it will be very difficult to really try to get votes from, let's say, if ever talagang ma-consolidate ang BBM and Sara tandem.
Unless, of course.
Baka kailangan pa rin nila mismong mag-negotiate. Kaya lang mas mahirap na kung meron pang susuko o mag-withdraw. Kaya lang some of them, of course, are driven by personal ambitions too to become president.
Okay, and final word na lang. So, Professor T. Hanky, and then we have to go already. Sorry, Professor Atienza, I suppose that can be your final word. Ubus na oras. Professor T. Hanky.
Well, the ongoing political circus that we have witnessed, or in witnessing, goes to show how convoluted our presidential politics has become. And if we don't take seriously institutional reforms to consolidate our democracy, we will see more of the same. And this is not good for the health of our democracy.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Professors Maria Ella Atienza and Julio T. Hanky. We have been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here at this table on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. we are on our final stretch. This is Politics as Usual. Professor T. Hanky, can you respond to my question a while ago?
Well, it goes to show that it's political clans and dynasties, not political parties, that's been the building block of our electoral politics, and that has always been the case, no? And that's one of the failings of the EDSA elites, no? Previous administration's failure, and it's a collective failure actually to consolidate our democratic institutions and practices, no? And one of the biggest problem really is the continuing dominance of only a few political dynasties. And based on the study of the Ateneo School of Government, 70% of our present House of Representatives is composed of dynasties, and 80 in the local government units. And by 6 years' time, practically 90%, 80 to 90% of all elected positions are coming from the dynasty. So with this kind of a setup, it's not a surprise that the Marcoses were easily reintegrated into our political system.
So if you have these political dynasties, families that rule the roost in local politics, and well, as we all know, all politics is local anyway, and if you go local, then you look at the families, the clans, diba? And that's also one reason.
It has become a Game of Thrones of sorts.
Oh, Game of Thrones, right. Right.
Yeah, it's just the elite families negotiating among themselves. If you saw that wedding in Cavite, no, it reminds you so much of the first scene in The Godfather, in which all the families were gathered.
I think we've been watching a little bit too much TV na, no? Or Netflix. Yeah. Okay. So, and then of course that also affects the way the so-called opposition, the vaunted opposition bloc should have acted, because the question here is, did they let this golden opportunity pass them by? Because ang tagal na pinag-usapan, Lenny Ping, Manny Isko, sana magkaisa sila kasi hati na ang boto. So anong dapat mangyari dito? Professor
Ella.
Ella.
Yes.
Let's be the solusyon plus sa COVID-19. B. Bawal walang mask at face shield. I. Isanitize ang kamay at iwasan ang kulob na lugar. D. Dumistansya ng 1 metro at limitahan ang pisikal na interaksyon sa iba. A. Alamin ang tamang impormasyon. Plus, suportahan ang FDA-approved na bakuna. BIDA Plus. Bida Solusyon Plus sa COVID-19.
Lolo, Lola, 1 taon na tayong nahiwalay dahil sa quarantine. Miss na po namin kayo at inyong masasarap na luto at pag-aalaga. May bakuna na raw po sa COVID-19. Kunin niyo po ha. Kapag nabakunahan na ang lahat, makakapiling na muli namin kayo. Ingat po.
Kung ikaw ay edad 60 pataas o may iba pang karamdaman, magparehistro na para sa Res Bakuna kontra COVID-19. Res Bakuna, kasangga ng bida at ni Lolo't Lola.
Ano ba ang maaaring maramdaman matapos magpabakuna kontra COVID-19? Maaaring makaranas ng sakit sa ulo, lagnat, pagkahilo, sakit sa katawan o parte ng katawan kung saan binakunahan. Ngunit, huwag mag-alala, pinapaalala ng Department of Health, Bicol Center for Health Development na ito ay mga karaniwang reaksyon ng bakuna sa ating katawan. Isa lamang itong indikasyon na ang bakuna ay epektibo sa pagbibigay sa atin ng proteksyon laban sa COVID-19. Kung makakaramdam ng mga ito, mainam na mag-self-monitor o pumunta sa lugar kung saan kayo binakunahan upang mabigyan ng abiso kung ano ang mga dapat gawin. Suportahan ang Bida Vaccination, maging Res Bakuna para protektado laban sa COVID-19.
Dumating na ang Res Bakuna kasangga laban sa COVID-19. At dahil ang dating nito ay by batches din ang babakunahan. Sa Priority A na grupo, una na ang ating health frontliners. Susunod ang mga mahal nating seniors. Pagkatapos ay mga taong may ibang karamdaman, mga frontliner na non-medical, at susunod ang mga kapuspalad. Mag-abang lamang dahil may priority groups B and C pa. Patuloy nating suportahan ang Res Bakuna at maging bahagi tayo ng Bida Vaccination.
CNN Philippines are sa RPN-DZKI
DZKI-IRIGA alas 6 hasta las 7 ng manggi, Lunes hanggang Biyernes. CNN Philippines R.